Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 23rd March 2021. So let us see which are the important articles in today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, these are the important articles for mains purpose and for prelims purpose. Let us take a review of all these articles first. For mains related articles, Delhi's administration as the tail wagging the dog. So yes, this has been in news. GNCT Act, Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Act 1991 is being amended here, and recently Lok Sabha has passed this bill. So analysis of these provisions regarding that amendment of the act is being continuously done. We are having this follow up. Here also the article is providing the evolution since independence, how the administration of Delhi has been changing since independence. That background, that information is also important for us, and in that background we have to look into the present changes that are being done. Okay, so from GS2 paper polity part. Next, free and open. So it is regarding a recent visit of Secretary of Defense of United States to India, and the outcome of that visit and significance of that visit is being discussed here in editorial. So from GS2 paper international relations, India US relations. Okay, then Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh sign agreement on Ken Betwa interlinking work. So interlinking of rivers, yes, this year's 2020 mains examination the question was there on this interlinking of rivers, the concept, and what are, let's say, what is the significance, advantages and disadvantages involved in such interlinking of rivers. So GS1 paper geography part, okay, that this part is important. So we'll understand this Ken Betwa link as well as the pros and cons of interlinking river projects. At the same time, what are the proposed inter-basin transfer projects in India. Okay, so GS1 paper geography. Center readies draft plan for district wise export promotion. So from GS3 paper economy part, now at district level the export promotion, we can say that the strengths of particular districts are being identified, and the plan for that export promotion district wise is to be done now. Here the central government has come up with in the aid of state government here. So from GS3 paper economy part we will try to understand this initiative. Then specifically prelims related some of the awards like National Film Awards and Gandhi Peace Prize Award. So yes, miscellaneous part, some awards, prizes, there can be question regarding that. Okay, so some factual information we will try to get for prelims examination. Now let us go into details of all these articles. Yes, Delhi's administration as tail wagging the dog. So editorial page number 6. So the article is giving insights into the background of how Delhi has been administered since independence. At the same time, in this background, in this particular, let's say, evolution, the present changes and the tussle between LG and the elected government of Delhi is going on. So it should be looked from this evolution perspective. So let us try to understand how the administration of Delhi since independence was carried out. Okay, so first and foremost you need to know that we have adopted parliamentary democracy, and parliamentary democracy, Supreme Court has said that it is part of basic structure of Indian Constitution. Now under this parliamentary democracy, the elected government being responsible for legislature or responsible to legislature is essential characteristics, and here also the Delhi government, or we can say Delhi as having state legislative assembly. So here the parliamentary democracy is important. Now if we go to 1951, okay, after independence, the first stage. So after independence, the various states and we can say other such territories of India were divided into 4 groups: A, B, C and D. Among these four, states having legislative assemblies were categorized in A and B, and those being administered by central government as union territories and by commissioners, they were included in C and D. So if we talk about the administration of Delhi, Delhi was included in C. So you can see here Delhi was part C state after independence, and Delhi was provided with legislative assembly elected, or we can say with elected chief minister at the start itself. At the start itself, you can see here legislative assembly created with an elected chief minister. Now this formula worked for next 5 years. However, there was reorganization of states through this reorganization of States Reorganization Act 1956, and the reorganization of states was carried out, and 14 states and 6 union territories were, or we can say all the entities now categorized into this 14 state and 6 union territories through this State Reorganization Act. Now what happened to Delhi now? So Delhi became the union territory here. Union territory to be administered by administrator appointed by president. That means it has come under the central government, and now the earlier state assembly was abolished. Legislative Assembly of Delhi was abolished here. Now onwards, since 1956, Delhi did not have any kind of representative democracy up till when 1966. So in 1966, Delhi Administration Act was passed, and through this local self-governance started here, urban local self-governance in terms of establishment of Metropolitan Council. Metropolitan Council, it consisted of 56 elected members and 5 nominated members. Total 61 members. So now again slowly at local level representative democracy started. Further, the demand for full statehood started by various political parties for Delhi, and in 1991 further a new act after recommendation of Balakrishnan Committee in 1987. Balakrishnan Committee 1987 recommended that Delhi government should be, or Delhi should be administered with the help of its own state legislative assembly, and it should have council of minister headed by a chief minister. At the same time, there should be position of LG, that is to be appointed by president as an agent of central government. Okay, so you can see here the Constitution 69th Amendment Act was passed along with Government of NCT Delhi, GNCT Delhi Act was passed here 1991. And through this again the Legislative Assembly of Delhi was established, wherein again there will be Council of Minister headed by Chief Minister as an decision maker or executive in the state. Okay, so here the full statehood still remains because LG still had the powers. So from let's say different perspective, we have to understand that Delhi or the LG of Delhi is having different powers from the nominal heads of the states or even India, that is governor and president. Okay, so LG had some powers here as compared to chief minister here or council of minister headed by chief minister. This is how we have to understand the evolution of administration of Delhi since independence. Now since 2015, the kind of tussle that started between elected government of Delhi and LG of Delhi. So we have to understand that. Earlier also we have covered this in the Hindu analysis of 21st March 2021, 2 days back. Okay, so this will be some kind of repetition, but again continuation, revision will happen. So this is giving the evolution of that tussle that was going on between LG and state government. What happened is the AAP government in Delhi was elected for second time in 2015, and in 2015 again there was a different ruling party at center, that is BJP. So to some extent that contributed to this conflict here, as many such decisions of Chief Minister or Council of Minister headed by Chief Minister in Delhi were either reversed or declared void by LG of Delhi in 2015 and 16. Okay, and to some extent this was responsible for the conflict here. Delhi government then went to Delhi High Court here for grievance redressal. So for that matter, we have to understand Delhi to some extent concurred with the, or we can say gave the verdict in favor of LG. You can see here Delhi High Court in 2016 held that LG had complete control of the matters related to NCT and nothing will happen without the concurrence of LG. However, to some extent it also agreed that LG should not interfere in day-to-day administration, or this particular matters, not all matters. Concurrence is not required in all matters. So this agreed, the elected government has a role to play here. Next, again the Delhi government went to Supreme Court, and the landmark judgment in 2018. Here you can see the 5-judge bench of Supreme Court held that the real authority to take decisions lies in elected government. That means here the concurrence of LG is not required, the opinion of LG is not required. However, the Supreme Court has said that the decisions of Council of Minister headed by Chief Minister are to be communicated to LG. Okay. At the same time, the matters on 3 subjects are the domain of LG, decisions on that. Which are these 3 subjects? Police, law and order or public order, and land. Okay. So except these 3 subjects, the state government or the legislature is free to legislate on any matter that is there in state list and concurrent list. Fine. And to some specific, let's say regarding some specific matters here, like the transfer and posting of bureaucrats and power over Anti-Corruption Bureau in Delhi. So that kind of, let's say, particular subject was later on dealt by two judge bench, and it gave split verdict. One judge was in favor of LG or the power of LG, one judge was in favor of state government or elected government, and therefore the matter is now transferred to the higher bench, pending before the higher bench. So yes, this is how the evolution is going on, and now the GNCT Delhi Act 1991 is being amended, wherein the provisions like the government under any law that is being legislated by the Delhi Legislative Assembly, that government will mean LG, okay, or LG of Delhi. At the same time, the matters that, or we can say the decisions that are taken by the executive, that is Council of Minister headed by Chief Minister, before their implementation, opinion of LG is to be sought, and this is compulsory. Okay. Now this is to some extent differing with this 2018 judgment of Supreme Court, and therefore in future this amendment, if it is passed in the Parliament, it is going to have, or it is needed to pass the test of again Supreme Court in future. Okay. So what kind of question we can expect in GS2 paper here? Delhi has uniqueness in a way that it can neither be given full statehood nor be treated as mere union territory being administered by central government. Do you agree with the statement? Justify your view. Yes, to some extent we have to agree with this statement. Why Delhi had special status in administration since independence? For 2 reasons. One is that you need to know that If Delhi was to be included in the territory of any state, then that state will become dominant. That state will become dominant. At the same time, second thing, the capital of the country should have been always under the control of central government and not state government. So control of or control by central government was required to some extent, and this is how these two important aspects contributed to special significance or special status that is given to Union Territory of Delhi. Okay, so for that matter, it cannot be given full statehood or it cannot be treated as specifically union territory. Why it cannot be only treated as union territory? Because of the elected democracy or elected representative democracy. What we have adopted in India is representative democracy, and this can be only given when there is some kind of mechanism. Legislature is there, people are electing their representatives, and these representatives are taking decisions on behalf of people. This is representative democracy, and that's why we cannot go back to what we had earlier adopted as a part of representative democracy. Okay, so yes, in this manner we have to attempt this question. Fine? Okay, from GS2 paper, polity part. Yes, moving on, free and open. So on page number 6, editorial page, the context of the topic or article here is regarding Secretary of Defense of US Lloyd Austin's visit to India in last week. Okay, so the outcome of that visit and significance of visit. So from that we can understand it revolves around three areas: bilateral ties, Indo-Pacific region and the vision of two countries, confluence of this vision on the Indo-Pacific strategy we can say, and we can say third part as Afghanistan. So what was the significance here if we talk about the bilateral ties? So in terms of bilateral ties, we have to understand here that yes, two countries agreed here for deepening of defense cooperation. Along with defense cooperation, the other areas like technology transfer, climate change, technological developments or joint technological developments, along with that other areas of cooperation or bilateral ties, economic ties are to be increased here. Okay, along with that, if we talk about the second area where both countries were of the view that on Indo-Pacific region. So Indo-Pacific region, especially here you can say that the naval cooperation. So naval cooperation, here we can talk about open, free and fair use of seas, or we can say navigation purpose. This is how the joint statement talks about regarding the Indo-Pacific region, and our defense minister has also upheld this. Third part is regarding Afghanistan. Here to some extent we can understand there was consultation between two leaders here. However, the US is not heeding to what India wants to or India's interest in Afghanistan. Okay, so yes, India has some interest in Afghanistan, and peaceful Afghanistan, or we can say Afghan-led process of peace establishment in Afghanistan is very of interest if we talk about India's interest here, Afghanistan. So yes, the kind of withdrawal of all its forces that are going on by the US from the Afghanistan, and the Taliban and the representative or elected government of Afghanistan the conciliation process that is going on, the peace is being brokered. So all this process is going on. However, the Pakistan is given more role here as compared to India. Okay, so this is one of the concern. At the same time, India is concerned about the extremism or terrorism again taking back place in the Afghanistan here. Okay, so from three important areas, the talks that happened between two leaders. Along with that, the US representative, Secretary of Defense, was also of the view that the sanctions under CATSA, CATSA Act of US, under which the sanctions are there to the trade partners. So why these sanctions may happen on India by US, put on India by US, because of the defense deal with Russia. Because of defense deal with Russia. So if it is completed and the defense equipment are delivered to India, then there may be sanctions under CATSA. This was said by Secretary of Defense. At the same time, the issue of human rights violations in Assam was raised, but to some extent it was not highlighted under the in that joint statement, and it remained at the low level, such kind of issue. And third thing, yes, to some extent the issue regarding the LAC standoff and the Chinese incursions along the LAC, this was discussed, but not the joint statement did not have any we can say directly mention of China. No direct mention of China, and US agreed that it is the bilateral issue between India and China. Now this is again the positive thing happened. Okay, so this is how we have to understand the outcome of the visit and the significance. Also we have to understand the significance as this was the first such major visit, first senior ranking official of Biden administration to meet with Modi government, or we can say India. So after 2019 elections, the new president and immediate visit of Secretary of Defense to India, so this shows that the kind of priority is given by US to India. Okay, so in this manner we have to deal GS2 paper, international relations, India-US relationship. Fine? Okay. Now, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh sign agreement on Ken-Betwa interlinking project. So yes, this is long pending interlinking project, and now after this agreement there will be some kind of more developments here in implementation of Ken-Betwa link project. Now you can see here the map. Let us try to understand what is this project first. Okay, so this is Ken river, tributary of Yamuna, Betwa river, tributary of Yamuna. Okay, both are tributary of Yamuna river, and yes, you can see here both are flowing from Madhya Pradesh to Uttar Pradesh. Now this Betwa river is having some kind of dry bed as compared to Ken. So there is some surplus water in its regime, and here there is deficit. Okay, so this particular, you can see here the green color link, this will be the canal from Ken to Betwa river, and the surplus water from Ken river or its basin will be transferred to deficit Betwa river. Okay, there will be building of this Dwadan dam here, and through this Dwadan dam there will be, let's say, one canal will be taken out like this, and it will join the Betwa river, and ultimately there will be irrigation we can say network created, and this particular region of Bundelkhand spanning both state Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. To some extent, this is going to be irrigated, and this is positive thing for both these states. Now, what are the concerns involved here? Concerns, you can see here the Dwadhan Dam located in Madhya Pradesh. The kind of deforestation or submergence of forest and wildlife habitat. Which wildlife habitat is there or protected area? Panna Tiger Reserve or National Park. Panna Tiger Reserve or National Park. Almost 10% area of this Panna Tiger Reserve is going to be submerged because of the reservoir created by this Dodhan Dam here. Okay, this information is important if we have to understand the kind of impact, negative impact it is going to have here. Okay, so Ken Betwa link, this is the only project at present is at the final stages of implementation, and for that matter it is significant. Okay, interlinking of river. Now the yellow part is the command area link. Okay, so command area wherein the area is to be irrigated now through this canal. Okay, so this is the link. You can draw the link if there is question in the examination. Now, what kind of question that was asked in mains examination, you can see here. This year 2020 mains examination GS 1 paper. Interlinking of rivers can provide viable solutions to multidimensional interrelated problems of droughts, floods and interrupted navigation. Critically examine. Now, this command is very unique and many students do not understand this. When we have this command critically examine, what we have to do is we have to adopt this approach, that whatever the argument made in the earlier statement or the question statement, we have to only support up to 30 to 40% in favor of that statement, and we need to negate that statement and give the arguments or weightage of the answer as 60 to 70%. That means what we have to do in this question here is we have to give more negatives of this or cons, disadvantages of interlinking of river projects as compared to advantages. So let us understand what are the advantages and disadvantages of this interlinking projects. Okay, so pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages. So first and foremost, if we talk about the advantages, is the kind of flood control and drought control, that the very objective of this interlinking of rivers, this is achieved here. Okay, so flood control, wherever there is surplus water in that river, the part of water amount is being removed, it controls the floods. And the particular other river where there is a dry bed of that river, a drought prone region is there, that drought is mitigated because of the transfer of surplus water to that region. Next will be irrigation, the canal channels that are being created for transfer, surely it is going to help for the irrigation, further agriculture production, more and more land will be brought under cultivation, and intensive agriculture will be, we will have intensive agriculture, more food grain production. Drinking water supply will increase for that matter. Okay, at the same time there will be navigation and transport. So interrupted navigation, it will be to some extent removed, as the canals will provide the avenues for inland river transport. Okay, so these are the positives. If we talk about the negatives, first and foremost is the ecological aspect. Okay, always give this as reason first, ecological aspect. So what will happen because of that? Submergence of forest, deforestation, or the habitat, wildlife habitat is being destructed here. Loss of such habitat. So there will be extinction of species, the threat, it threatens the species. So first thing. Second thing, if we are talking about, is the displacement of the people from their land because of submergence of forest. right? So this is the second thing. Third thing, economical aspect, like yes, the agriculture production will go down, reduces the land for agriculture, therefore food grain production may go down. At the same time, we have to understand that such projects involve huge costs. Okay, so as the land or terrain is not even, so many times we have to pump the water at many places because of elevation. So it overall cost of these projects is huge. So for that matter, at the same time, maintenance cost is also more. Why? Because of problem of siltation of canals and dams. Okay, so continuous desiltation is required. Maintenance cost is also high. So these are the disadvantages. Advantages are there, but disadvantages are also very high, and that's why a proper analysis in depth is required before going ahead of these interlinking projects. Now the government has already identified 30 such interbasin water transfer links. And among these 30s, they have divided the Himalayan component and peninsular component. There are such 14, total 14 identified projects of Himalayan component and 16 peninsular component, such links. And you can see here the largest link like this, the Ganga Kaveri link, you can see that. So such kind of links are there, interbasin water transfer is there. So in this manner, yes, the image may not be visible here, but you can Google this, the image, you will surely find this image for this 30 projects here. But what is important for us at present, which are in news, this Ken Betwa and this Kosi Mechi project is sometimes in news here in Bihar. Okay, this Kosi Mechi, Kosi is considered as the sorrow of Bihar. Surplus water is being transferred to this Mechi river now, deficit basin. Okay, so these two are many times in news, so you need to remember them. Fine. Okay, so GS1 paper geography part. Now moving on, center readies draft plan for district wise export promotion. So central government has identified certain districts, 451 districts, and the district wise export promotion plan for these districts have been devised. At the same time, central government has asked state government to rank these districts as annual export ranking index on the basis of export competitiveness of these districts, and this will ensure more and more investment in we can say export oriented industries. So we have to also understand that while foreign trade constitutes 45% of India's GDP, most export promotion efforts are driven by central government. Yes, we can understand that largely all the let's say port areas or special economic zones, SEZs, they are largely promoted by central government. So this initiative is focusing on state government at playing the nodal role or central role in export promotion and at local level now. So identifying district level, district wise export promotion plans. Fine. So GS3 paper economy part. Specifically, if we are talking about prelims related news here, so some of the national awards, like first one here, Gandhi Peace Prize for Mujib and Sultan Qaboos. So for 2019 and for 2020, together the Cultural Ministry of Union Cultural Ministry has announced these prizes. So for 2019, the prize goes to late Qaboos bin Saeed Al Said, the former Sultan of Oman, former Sultan of Oman. So he was a very noted personality in terms of ensuring or promoting peace in the Middle East region. His twin policy of moderation and mediation in addressing international issues won him praise and respect across the globe. He was also architect of special ties between India and Oman. So recognizing this contribution, at the same time this Gandhi Peace Prize has some kind of let's say criteria wherein the social work or the work on the principles, Gandhian principles of non-violence, truth, satyagraha. Gandhi Peace Prize 2020 goes to father of the nation of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So he had some contributions regarding, if we talk about the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971, and to some extent also he acted on the Gandhian methods, promoting them towards social, economic, political transformation of the country. Okay, so for that also the country is, or India and Bangladesh are also celebrating the 50 years of its independence. So for that matter, it is one of the important development for Bangladesh also. Okay, now Gandhi Peace Prize, International Gandhi Peace Prize, basic information about that. It was instituted in 1995 by Government of India on 125th birth anniversary of Gandhiji. It carries prize money of 1 crore rupees, citation, plaque and item of traditional handicraft or handloom. Now this is not limited to Indian nationals. So it is given irrespective of nationality, race or creed or gender. So it can be given to foreign nationals also, and many times it is given to foreign nationals. You can see here both are given to foreign national. Now the jury to decide who is or the award is to be given, the jury consists of Prime Minister of India, Leader of Opposition in the Lok Sabha, Chief Justice of India, Speaker of Lok Sabha and the other one eminent person. Okay, so in this manner the jury is consisting of, and every year it is decided by this jury, this International Gandhi Peace Prize Award. Fine. So this was regarding Gandhi Peace Prize Award. For prelims, there can be such question from current affairs and basics of this award also. And again, yes, not that much important, but you never know, we can expect such kind of question. National Film Awards, 67th National Film Awards, and yes, some important awards you need to know: Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, Best Feature Film. So yes, we have provided this information and you can go through that. That is not that much important. And yes, there is already the controversy going on here, how these awards are given to this particular actors, actresses, but that is not of importance for us. Okay, so yes, these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. For further information on editorial discussion classes or ED classes, wherein in-depth analysis of men's related issues and articles is done by Ansari sir and team, you can contact Lukman IAS. Thank you.